Okay, yes, I think we're live. I hope we're live. Let me just check check again. I'm here with lovely ladies, and we are truly, truly international as every evening. Yep, I can see us on our Facebook group. Let me see if there's other people that can see us as well. You know what to do. You post in the comments that you are here and where you are, because we love hearing from you. Yep, it's all working properly. Let me introduce the Smiling Leash team. You have all gone to Turid Rugås International Dog Trainer School, but as I understand, you didn't go at the same time, did you?
We did. That's where we met.
Same time.
Oh, okay. So we have, so you just raise your hand when I call your name. I just pronounced the name, so I hope I get it right. Ena.
Hi.
You are in Slovenia, right?
Yes, that's right.
And you told me that it's 1,000,000 degrees.
It's very hot and it's very humid these days, so we've been taking our Smiling Leash walks early in the morning to avoid the heat.
That's a good idea. And then we have Letty in Spain.
That's right. It's quite hot here as well.
It's hot in Spain as well. So you go for early morning walks too?
Very much so, yes. There's no way to go otherwise. It's about 35 degrees now.
Oh, yeah. So it's better to do it in the morning.
Yeah.
And then we have Luba, who are in Romania.
Bulgaria.
Bulgaria. Sorry. Bulgaria. And is it warm in Bulgaria as well?
Yeah, it's extremely hot week, also around 35 degrees. So we are all on early walk schedule for sure.
I tell you, it's quite warm where I'm living in the north of Norway, but warm in the north of Norway is not warm in the south of Norway, of course. So we're very happy with 25 degrees. So that's the weather report. Where did you meet? Where did you meet? You went to Turid Rugås in which country?
In Spain, in Barcelona.
Yes, yeah.
And then you got to know each other really well and decided to do a project together. And this is what we're going to talk about today. And I'm just going to do say some practical information before you start. We are aware that there are some issues with sound, the internet connection. So please just be patient. These presentations, as always, it's recorded, so you can see it later and you can see it as many times as you want to. We will all go away from the screen, but you will hear those three ladies talking you through the PowerPoint. And after the PowerPoint, you will answer questions, right?
Yeah.
Yes, we will.
So me and my colleague here in Norway, Janne, you haven't seen her, but she's there. She's there. We are watching through the comments while they have the presentation. So we are noting down the questions that we can ask you afterwards. Okay, so shall we just start?
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's do it.
I'll remove myself first. Wait, just have to do this right. You're all set to go.
Okay, the presentation is on. You can see it well, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, she's here, and you're off screen, but we can hear you.
Okay, great. Thank you, Lisbeth. Thank you for inviting us today. Thank you all for joining. We are a Smiling Leash team. We have a large online community on Facebook and Instagram, and we post there a lot of articles related to dogs and various topics, but our main focus is on walks, of course. So today we actually want to talk to you about what is a good walk for a dog. First thing that I'd like you to do is just to close your eyes and think for a moment about a walk with your dog. What does it look like? Where are you? And what is your dog doing? how fast are you walking? And I also want you to think about, how does it feel? Do you enjoy it? Do you feel relaxed, or maybe a little bit anxious? And I want you to keep this picture with you through the whole presentation today, so that you could compare it, and maybe this image will change for you, and tomorrow you'll set to go with a new Smiling Leash walks, together with your dog, of course.
Hi, Ina here. So we've heard the word Smiling Leash, and I hope that some of you have been to our Facebook page or maybe our Instagram and maybe know a little bit about the project already. But I did want to tell you what the big idea is. So it's very simple, but it's also quite ambitious. We want to change the image in people's minds when they think of a walk with their dog. Why? We know how we are, people. We tend to think of whatever we see most often as normal. We don't really question it much. And when it comes to dogs and walks, what we see most often is a dog on a short, tight leash. And that leash is also usually attached to a collar. On the other hand, you have this sometimes stressed human, sometimes a disinterested person on their phone. And both the dog and the human are hurrying along. They're just going, they're not really paying much attention to their surroundings. The walk looks like a march, and it feels like a chore to be accomplished every day. But, you know, a walk with your dog can be so much better than that. It could look a little bit like this. Now that's a different picture, isn't it? Here we have a dog and her human walking together. They're taking the sights in, the sounds, the smells, the textures, everything around them. They are walking slowly. Their minds are engaged with their surroundings, and they both feel relaxed. We can see that they are connected with a long, loose, smiling leash. That's the name of the project. And this moment, this walk, may just be the very best part of their day. And this is what we want people to think about when they think of a walk with a dog. This is the purpose of the Smiling Leash project. We want to show the very best examples of loose leash walks. And we use the internet to show photos and videos of Smiling Leash moments like this. And of course, we don't just want people to think about this. We want everyone, including you, to try it. And we're going to take a look at some of the elements we need to have a Smiling Leash walk.
Okay, so today we're going to explore 3 areas of the walk in a bit more detail. We're going to talk about the best equipment for your walk and why we recommend it. We are going to talk about the movement of the dog during the walk, the speed of the walk and its effects on the dog. And we're also going to talk about how to engage all the dog senses during the walk. And we leave you with Anna to start with. She will explain the first topic, the walking equipment.
Okay. It's no coincidence that we're talking about equipment first, because it is the first step to a good Smiling Leash walk. And I know, and I'm very happy that other speakers have already mentioned good walking equipment, which means an H-type harness and a long enough leash. It's so very important. It plays a major part in how a dog feels and also how a dog behaves during a walk. We all want our dogs to be nice and calm and to handle all kinds of situations in a nice, calm manner, such as meeting other dogs or a loud motorcycle passing by or people, strangers, and so on. And if we want to achieve this, we need to first make sure that our dog is comfortable, that she's free from any pain or any discomfort. And this is why it's so important to use the right equipment. This is why we use an H-type harness and a long leash. First of all, we're going to take a look at some harnesses. So an H-type harness is the only equipment we can recommend to put on your dog when you're attaching a leash to the equipment. There are many reasons why using an H-type harness is best, and they fall into two categories. One of them is health, and the other one is behavior. And as we all know, health and behavior are also very much connected. In terms of health, the dog's neck is very sensitive. It needs to be protected. Inside the neck, there are many structures that can very easily get damaged, such as blood vessels and nerves and glands, and the spine itself, the esophagus, and so on. And the neck was not meant to be used to attach any kind of equipment to it. So the harness of this type leaves the neck completely free, so it is protected. It's not the only body part we need to take care of. A good harness will leave all other body parts alone so that they can move in a natural way, such as, for example, the shoulders. On the other side, as I said, next to health, we also have behavior. A comfortable dog will handle difficult situations better. And so will we, of course. We will have a harder time with a difficult meeting if we're in pain. It's the same for a dog. They will have a harder time with a difficult meeting, for example, with another dog, if they're in pain from a collar or a choke collar or whatever else they're wearing. A harness makes sure that the dog is comfortable. There is another aspect to the behavior question. This is about how dogs associate and learn. For example, if we have a young, bouncy, curious puppy, as puppies are and should be, and that puppy wants to meet each and every dog she sees in the street, which again is something that puppies do. And if we put that puppy on a collar, she may try to run up to another dog and the collar will stop her and that will hurt. It will cause pain and tension. That puppy may start to connect the pain she is feeling with other dogs. And a problem with other dogs may start to develop just because of the equipment we're using. And we really want to prevent that. And because I expect a question about that, even if you have the coolest, calmest dog that never pulls on the leash, there still can be a moment when the dog gets startled by something, a loud noise, for example, maybe a traffic accident somewhere. And in that moment, a dog will pull, even the type of dog that usually walks nicely on a leash. And we don't want an injury to happen in that one stupid, silly moment, do we now? So as we can see in the pictures here, an H harness is called an H harness because the top kind of looks like the letter H, and it attaches at the back. That's the proper way. That's how the forces can be distributed nicely in case the dog pulls. The picture on the left shows Heidi, and we can see in Heidi's front that the harness makes kind of like the shape of the letter Y. That's also very important for two reasons. First of all, the three straps meet in the middle, and that middle sits on the bone, the sternum bone. So in case Heidi does pull, the pressure is applied to the bone, which is much safer than applying pressure to the soft tissue. At the same time, this type of harness also leaves the shoulders free. It's very important for a dog's shoulders to swing freely. And you can see in the picture on the right how the whole shoulder blade area is free. And there is no chafing and no rubbing behind the front foot. That's the type of harness we're looking for. And as we will see in the next set of pictures, we recommend harnesses for all kinds of dogs, for small dogs, for big dogs, no matter the breed, no matter what age. If it's a dog, if you want to use a leash, then we need a good harness. And of course, there's a solution to any kind of problem. For example, in the next picture, we see a dog wearing a coat. It's a very beautiful dog, happens to be mine. And there's no problem with using a harness and a coat together. In this case, the harness goes over the coat. It could also go under the coat. Some coats already have holes where you can attach the leash, and if there is no hole, just go ahead and make a hole, and you can use a harness with a coat. There are also some dogs that have a specific body shape, and there are also dogs that try to escape from a harness. And for these cases, a safety harness can be used. That's the one on the right, on this beautiful hound. You can see that there's an additional strap going over the rib cage, and this is the safety strap. The important thing is to make sure that this strap really does go over the rib cage and not over the soft belly area. We have to make sure to stay off of the soft tissue as much as we can. So yes, there is a solution to every harness problem. And when we have a good, well-fitted harness, what we need next is a leash. So the most important thing to remember about leashes is that they have to be long. They have to be long because our dog will need space to communicate and to make choices. Dogs mostly communicate using body language, and to use this body language of theirs, they need some space to maneuver around in. And of course, maybe sometimes a dog wants to move away from something that might be scary or uncomfortable, and the dog will also need some space to move away from the scary thing. When we are talking about how long a leash should be, we say 3 meters is the minimum length, which means that if you do have more space, for example, on this lovely beach here, there's nothing dangerous there, there's nothing that could happen. It's very good to use an even longer leash, for example, a 5-meter leash or a 10-meter leash. I personally prefer a 10-meter or 7-meter leash for all my walks. As you can see from the pictures more on the right, it's a very simple thing, this leash. It's just a long strap that has a loop on one end and a clasp on the other end. No additional bits, no mechanisms, no bells and whistles. This kind of simple leash is the leash you will be most comfortable with handling, and you will handle it softly and nicely for your dog. You can choose from many different materials, many different styles, whatever suits you best. It is good to pay attention to the weight. So a good leash is light. Especially if we have a small dog or a puppy, the leash should be very light. Another thing to look at is the clasp. Of course, the clasp should be secure, but it should also be comfortable, so not too heavy for the dog. So as I said before, equipment really influences a dog's behavior, and many dogs will actually stop pulling on the leash, or they will pull a lot less just because their owners put them in a good harness and on a long leash. It's often all it takes to stop pulling behavior. Sometimes it's not enough. In that case, we have to look for reasons. It might be that the environment we're walking in is too stressful. Maybe the dog has some pain in the body or something else is going on, and we need to remove that reason. But very often, we don't need to do that. Very often, we don't even need to do loose leash walking exercises. It's enough to just use the proper equipment to have a nice smiling leash walk. And that's it for equipment from me. Let's go on.
Okay, so now that we have the dog in a nice harness and a long lead, we need to look at the way and the speed that the dog moves. And what is walking? I'm sure you know that dogs have several types of gaits. The gait is the pattern that the legs make while they move, and also the speed that they move at. Some gaits, as you know, are walking, pacing, trotting, or galloping. And walking is the slowest gait of all. And for most of the time, when a dog walks, 3 of the extremities of the dog are on the ground, and the weight is distributed on the triangle that these 3 legs make, like you can see in this picture with Rufus here. And why is it important that they walk slowly like this? Walking slowly works the deeper muscles in the dog that provide stability, and it also builds up strength. This enhances the dog's balance, and there are many benefits to this. One of them is less pulling. Walking is frequently used in rehabilitation with dogs, and that's because it's a really beneficial gait. But when we walk our dogs, we rarely use it. We see many dogs hurrying along, and dogs that are being pulled, they're not allowed to stop to sniff, and this causes quite a lot of discomfort in the neck, like Anna mentioned before. But they also walk too fast most of the time. We don't have time to take them out. We have just 10 minutes and we just don't have enough time for them. So we think that it's really important to plan ahead so we have plenty of time to take our dogs for a walk, a nice slow walk. So we need to slow down our pace. And we must look at each of our dogs to determine the walk needs. You can't walk the same for a healthy dog, a young dog, or a puppy, or a senior dog. They all need their own walk. And especially for small dogs, we need to consider the size of their legs compared to, say, the size of a human leg. Just look at this little lady here in the picture. I'm sure you know, and you've noticed that most of the small dogs trot. They don't walk. So we need to slow even further for small dogs. I have 2 small dogs myself, and I know that I really, really have to make an effort to slow down for them, because you are making the dog trot very quickly without even realizing. So with the walk, go for quality over quantity. Slow walking and plenty of sniffing to fulfill the dog's needs. And just one more point about the small dogs. Just imagine that you have to do all your walks trotting yourself. What will be the state of your muscles at the end of each walk? I think you will be sore and stiff. That's probably how they will feel, your muscles. But then now imagine that you have to do all your walks like that. What will be the cumulative effect of that, of having to do all your walks trotting? I don't think it would feel very nice. So once again, we must slow down for small dogs. Next slide, Liva, please. And also for the movement of the dog when we're walking, the walk shouldn't be just about walking on a straight line, going for really boring walks. We should make the activity even more interesting and challenging by using small obstacles that we can find in our walks to make our dogs more aware of their own bodies. Body awareness has a huge effect, very positive effect on the dog's body and mind. Just think of us, ourselves, when we stand up straight instead of slouching. It just makes us feel so much better, and is the same for dogs. A small step like Kira is doing here on the photo on the left, or a bale of hay like Kala, which she's jumping and obviously having great fun over that bale, or a small wall that the dog needs to step over, something small like that, and that the dog feels confident about. And all these easy activities will help stretch the muscles in a different way than just walking. Another way also to use muscles that are usually used in the walks for the dogs is to try to introduce some curves in your walk, maybe around a tree or a bush, or if you're in the city, maybe around a car. And one last thing, but not very important, is that we should let our dogs choose if they want to engage with the obstacles or not, because it is really important for a dog to be able to pick what things to try. This develops self-confident individuals. And now I leave you with Luba, which she's going to explore with you how to engage the senses during the walk. Thank you.
Thank you, Letty. So now let's look at the walk from perspective of engaging senses. After all, a walk is an opportunity for your dog to go out of their usual environment, the house, and go out there, explore, and see what's going on in the world, right? So how do dogs understand the world? I think it's very important to mention the sense of smell in dogs. It's so incredible. And if you think about it, the zone in the dog's brain that is responsible for feeling smells is times larger than the zone that we people have. They have also noses adapted for that. They have a lot of muscles around the nose, and they have a special spongy structure inside their noses to make sure they can get all the smells. So we always say that sniffing is incredibly important. Let's try to understand why we should let our dogs sniff. So let's take a look at this video. I know it might be not the best quality because of the internet connection, but you can see here two dogs incredibly interested in something. They are just sniffing around this pile of grass. For us people, it might seem very weird, you know, what do they find in there? But these two dogs seem incredibly interested. It's obvious that they know what they're doing. So first of all, sniffing is important for dogs as a tool to understand the world around them, to learn about the world. They are able to learn, which expands their brains, help their development of their brains. It also makes them concentrate more. So in the long run, you will have a dog that can concentrate on something for a longer periods of time. In addition to that, when dogs are sniffing, their pulse is actually lowering. There has been a study that showed that while dogs were sniffing, their heart rate was lowering, which means that their stress level was lowering as well. So having your dog sniff on walks as much as possible, just allowing them to do that, is so important for many reasons. In the end of the day, you will have less stressed and more relaxed dog that's more confident about the world and able to handle stressful situations better. And you know, just let them be dogs, let them sniff. I think it's so important for them. And taking your dog on sniffing walks can be done not only in the in some rural areas, but also in the city. Let's take a look at this beautiful example of Smiling Leash walk in the city. Here you can see that the couple, the lady and her dog, are in this very wide area. I think this is great because you can have your dog on a looser leash, and we prefer to have walks in such areas where you can loosen the leash and let your dog sniff more. And in the cities, it means that you would need to choose where you walk your dog carefully, maybe choose the time of the day that is less busy. And also, what is great about this video, you can see the lady walking very slowly and stopping whenever her dog needs to investigate and sniff. So this is just wonderful to see. Of course, they're connected by a smiling leash, so the dog is able to move freely. I think this is a great example of a walk. And this is how every walk with your dog should look like. And another point about engaging the senses are sniffaries. So Snifaris is an idea for an adventurous walk for your dog, where you can take your dog to somewhere new, some new place. So here you have examples of the Snifaris in a parking lot, on a lake, in a field, even in the city. It doesn't have to be somewhere far away for you to go. You can just turn right where you usually turn left on your walk. Then you can slow down, loosen the leash, and just let your dog explore. Again, it's great for their brain development. They get to learn new things, and in the end of the day, they become more confident and able to handle stress much better. So we usually advise to take your dog on a safari once or twice a week, depending on your abilities and depending on your dog. But it's so great to see them, explore new places. And it might seem really boring to us people. For example, what is interesting there in the parking lot? But for your dog, there are so many smells. And for example, here you can see little French bulldog Stella exploring car tires. Where has this car been? Who knows? It's incredibly interesting. And please share your Sniffari experience with us on our Facebook page or Instagram. We'll be really happy to see. Another thing that we like to offer to our subscribers is letting your dog choose the direction on their walks. This also, of course, has to do a lot with allowing them to investigate and sniff, but it also has to do with giving your dog choices. So if you think about life of a dog, you'll quickly understand that we make all the choices for them, what they eat and when we eat, and where they sleep, and on which bed, and when do they go for a walk. So it can feel depriving for a living being to not have any choice about their own life, and giving them these little and safe choices, such as allowing them to choose the way on their walk, can feel really empowering and allow them to feel safer in this world and more confident about themselves, which again, as we already said multiple times, just will allow them to handle stress much better in their life. I will give you a personal example. Here, my dog Heidi, that you have seen already in one of the pictures in this presentation, she was adopted from a shelter about a year ago, and she spent in most of her life in the shelter in a cage. Unfortunately, it means that when we adopted her, she had no clue about the outside world and felt quite insecure in it and quite scared. So every weekend I took her and I still take her on the walks where I allow her to choose the walk. I usually do these walks in a calmer time of the day, and where I know that it's safer to let her choose the way. But I just see that she feels so much confident, and if something usually would scare her, like a person walking by on such walks, it doesn't, because she has a complete choice if to go there, if to move away. And I just find her handle stressor so much better on such walks. And it's an incredible opportunity for you to bond with your dog, to see where your dog likes to go, what he likes to investigate, what is interesting for your dog. Isn't this incredible opportunity to build a relationship with your dog based on trust and choice? I think this can turn out really interesting for you. And we reached now the end of our presentation. I hope that you have a picture in your head of a Smiling Leash walk where your dog is on a loose leash, and you are relaxed and your dog is relaxed. Your dog has opportunity to sniff and enjoy yourself together. And last but not least, I'd like you to invite you to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. And if you'd like to join us in our mission to change other people's perspective on walks, please send us your photos and videos. We are really happy to get them on our email address that you can see here on the slide. And please share your experience with us. We are always happy to hear your stories. Thank you very much for your attention. I will give now word to Ina. She'll conclude the presentation once again. Thank you.
So yes, we have a little something for you. We prepared a little Smiling Leash walk checklist for your walks. You will be able to download it from the Facebook group, and Lisbeth will also be sending it by email. And you can print this out and put it on your fridge or maybe next to the door so you can look at it right before you go out with your dog to have your Smiling Leash walk. So I hope you use it, I hope you enjoy it, and I think we're ready for any questions you might have now. Thank you.
Okay, let me get everyone on screen again. I just have to click on the right buttons. There we are. Thank you for a very, very nice presentation and very useful. And the checklist is great. And it looked so nice as well. Something to post on your door, on your fridge door, to have in your pocket, I would say, to have in your car, right?
Maybe, yes. Why not?
Yeah. Jonas is commenting, could we say that the equipment on the walk should be as close as possible as to let the dog loose?
Yes, I think that's an excellent way of putting it. And of course, if it's safe and if it's allowed and if your dog can handle it, it's also great to let our dogs be off leash. But often we can't because of the surroundings, because of the dog that's not ready for it or the law or whatever. And in this case, as much as we can do to get close to this, the better.
I can't get the comments up in my chat here, so I have to quickly look on Facebook. And Susanna is saying, I live in Buenos Aires, Argentina. It's a big city, many dogs and many not well socialized dogs who pull a lot. Some use non-pull harness. Could we attach the leash to the front of the harness to prevent pulling?
Letty, do you want to take this one?
No, we don't do that. We use an H harness and we attach it to the top. And that's because it works because it's really uncomfortable for the dog. And it's really uncomfortable because, you know, you are hurting the muscles of the dog. And the more it works on this type of harnesses, the more the muscles are hurting. If it is a young puppy, you are stopping the nice and normal development of the dog. So the answer is no, no for any dog.
And you can also say that with your background as a myotherapist, right, Letty?
Yeah, I can. Absolutely.
And again, I would like to inform you that the first video, if you go on the menu and you click on videos, the very first one I posted a week ago before we started. It's a recording of a 1.5 hour talk about harnesses that Elsbeth did. So Susanna, you might have a look at that one to get more detailed information about why. Because there are good reasons for not connecting the leash to the front of the harness, right?
Many, yeah.
Okay, so a question. How do we teach dogs to walk on a loose leash? A lot of dogs are reactive, a lot of dogs are pulling the leash. How do we start teaching them?
Luba, you want to take that?
Yes. I think first thing that you should do is make sure that you have the right equipment. That's what we talked about just now. The H harness, it should be well fitted, should be comfortable for the dog, should not press on the belly. It should be a long lead. And you will see that most dogs stop pulling just by having a right equipment on them, by being comfortable. They don't have to escape this unpleasant feeling of a collar anymore. They don't have to be stressed about it. They just feel nice, and they won't be pulling. It's also important that you walk slowly. Most people don't realize how fast they walk, so we encourage you to to film yourself, or to have someone film you while you're walking with your dog. You'll see that you're probably walking faster than you should, and then always it will take a little practice, but you'll get there. Just walking very slowly will encourage your dog to follow your tempo, and also slow down, and you won't have a dog pulling anymore, because it will be just walking slowly, sniffing around. It's also a great idea to walk in the areas that have maybe more bushes, more trees, more things to sniff, not just an empty field, because it will encourage your dog to to slow down, to sniff more. And if you've done already those things and your dog is still pulling, look at why it might be nervous on walks, what might be stressing your dog on their walks. So maybe try walking in a calmer area, in the calmer time of the day, and see if your dog managed to relax and slowly build up to busier times. And it's a great idea also to if you exhausted all the options, to work with an ethical trainer and get advice from them. If you cannot, there is an amazing book written by Turi Drugas, Why Does My Dog Pull? And you can get great advice from this book as well.
Okay, I need to just quickly read the questions before they disappear on my screen. So sorry about that. Teresa is writing, ladies, when teaching loose lead walking, do you explain the, sorry, this is very hard for me to pronounce, oppositional reflex? I'm not really sure what that means, to be honest.
I think I've heard of that. It used to be an idea that the more the leash is taut and the more pressure there is on the leash, the more the dog pulls. I think that has to do with what Luba was saying. If a dog is uncomfortable, the dog might want to escape the discomfort by pulling even more. I don't know that that is a reflex, because a reflex is a very specific thing in biology, but I am pretty sure that if a dog is uncomfortable, it is likely to pull more. And yes, sometimes we say a few words about that, yes, absolutely. And we talk about what kind of equipment is comfortable and what kind of things we have to look at when we decide what harness to get and what kind of leash and so on.
And also Suba is asking, I walk slowly, but my pup is eager to explore and run. Any tips on how to encourage him to slow down?
Mm-hmm. Is it if it's a young puppy? Is it a puppy? I think for a puppy, it's great if you can have as long of a leash as you can, and just follow your puppy. They are really curious about the world. They want to explore so much. And as we said, if you want them to slow down a little bit, maybe walk in an area with more things to investigate, more bushes, more trees. But again, keep in mind that puppies will want to explore, will want to go around. If your puppy is hectic, is too hyper on walks, maybe it's a reason to look at your routine and see maybe it's too much, maybe the walk's been too long or too exciting. Again, maybe choose a calmer area where to walk. And again, maybe girls want to add something.
Yes, you know, it's funny with puppies, it's the same as with children. Their batteries get drained really quickly, but they can't really stop. They're tired, but they just go on, and we need to help them stop sometimes, and we need to make sure that their walks are really, really short. There will be time for longer walks when they are grown, because they're not physically ready for longer walks. They're not psychologically ready for them. A walk for a puppy is 10 minutes long, for example.
Yeah, depending on the age, but
and depending on the age, of course, yes.
Teresa is clearing that up for us with the can't remember the word now. Positional reflex. She said, it means that when, sorry, it's moving on my screen now. It means that when the handlers pull in one direction, the dog will automatically pull the opposite way. Example, if you press lightly on dog's side, dog will lean into your hand. So you are pressing, dog is pushing. So that's what it means.
Okay.
I think you already answered that question. So.
Yeah.
Okay, so Linda is asking, very many dog owners in Norway insists that dogs need to exercise so much that it's almost impossible to give them enough, and that the dogs need to run at least an hour a day. So slow walking is not a walk. How do you deal with these? Wait. Thank you, Janne. I have an assistant who's helping me. How do you deal with these people? What do you say?
Well, I think first you can start explaining what running does to the body, yeah, and how all the substances are generated when we run and we do activities like that, and the stress levels go up, and what happens when you do it day after day after day, and you know the dog is more and more stressed and it becomes chronic. So that's one way of looking at it. And the other way is by looking at how the dog muscles and how the dog develops. And walking, as we explained in the presentation, is much more productive than running, because running builds up stamina, but not muscles. You know, everybody's gone to the gym and we've done spinning versus a weight lifting class or a different type of class. They all do different things. So I think we can explain scientifically what the dog is going through when you put it through a lot of exercise.
And also I want to clear this up, because the whole week we've been talking about slow walking and slow movements and so on. Don't confuse it with us believing that dogs should not be allowed to move and allowed to run. Yeah, right? Of course, dogs can run.
When they need, yeah, of course.
But they do it to explain that as well, because a lot of people misunderstand and they think now that we are all about just, you know, having walking with the dogs, and the dogs are not allowed to run, and that's wrong.
Yeah. And as Leti said, also sometime when we are for free movement, it's great if your dog can be off leash. And you will see if your dog is off leash, it will run for a while and then stop. They are not running for hours, as many people encourage their dogs to run after a bicycle. This is not free natural movement. And also, if you want to explore this topic further, there is a great study about streeties in India that our colleague from PDT has done. She has found that during the day, the dogs do not go running. They actually prefer slower pace, and most of the day they are sleeping and resting. They are not going to exercise for 2 hours a day. And it's really also important to know. And also, if you allow me, I'll quickly make another point about exercise. When we are taking our dogs on calm and slow smiling leash walks, they get opportunity to sniff, and sniffing is very tiring for their brain, is taking a lot of mental energy. So you'll see your dog being actually quite tired after such walks and sniffaris. And I think this is very relevant as an exercise as well.
Let me see. Suba is answering about the puppy. He's 11 months old, and he that was the puppy that wanted to explore. He's 11 months old, and we walk for max 20 minutes. He's just super curious, which is endearing. Everything gets nosed. So, yeah.
That's the basic idea, and 11 months is a fun age to be at. You have to have a bit of a sense of humor, but it's really fun.
Okay, so Maria is asking, some tips to teach the dogs, especially the big ones, not pulling, or do they need special training?
It's the same no matter the size. First, we make sure they're comfortable, they're wearing good equipment, that there is nothing too stressful in the environment, that they don't have pain in the body or something else stressing them out. And then after that, if we still need to train, we can use an exercise that is described in that book that Luba mentioned by Tura Drugas. We can use an exercise, we can teach our dog a sound, a specific sound that means come with me in the direction where I'm going. And we then use that sound to ask the dog to follow us in a direction and thereby walk on a loose leash. No difference between breeds or sizes. And it's interesting how many dogs don't really need to exercise much. They just need to be comfortable and okay with their surroundings, and loose leash walking happens.
And I have an online course in Norwegian with films and videos and everything, and we're thinking about translating it into English. And now I was just writing on my notepad that I can promise that during sometime this fall, I will do one of my Facebook Live, which are free, and they're every Sunday evening. I will do one of them on the contact sound and how you start out, with the techniques that you are explaining, because it's I think we need more pictures and maybe a little bit of a video to show people how we do this, because we actually teach them from their puppies to walk on a loose lead, because the most common mistake we do with the puppies is that when the leash is tight, we follow, right? So the dog is actually learning that, I can walk ahead when the leash is tight. Mm-hmm. So we need to, from the beginning, you need to teach your dog that you can only move forward when it's loose.
Mm-hmm. That's also the big problem with retractable leashes, because the retractable leash is always tight. It's always a straight line, so you're basically, by using that, teaching your dog to pull.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, yeah. Okay, so it's 8 to 8. Actually, we're wrapping this up. This is a very popular topic. So just for information, those of you who are here now live, you will get your questions answered. But if you watch this later, we cannot promise you to answer questions in writing in the comments. You just have to watch the whole presentation again and some of the other presentations as well. So then I'm sure you will find good answers for that. Okay, any more questions? Anything else that you would like to tell to say to people? I will of course share that great handout that you made. I will post it afterwards this evening here in this Facebook group, and you will receive it on email tomorrow when I give you all the contact information. For those of you who registered for this seminar by email, like you went in and made a registration, you will also get all this practical information.
Great. And if you have more questions, maybe you could visit our Facebook page and Instagram page, and we wrote a lot of articles regarding the walks, so you can find information also on our page.
Great. Okay, so thank you very much.
Thank you, Lisbeth.
Europe, around a very warm Europe at the moment, apparently.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time, and have a nice evening.
Thank you, Lisbeth.
Thank you, Lisbeth.
And thank you, everyone, for listening in.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, so to everyone else who's still watching, we do like we have been doing every evening. I am going to close this window and come back at 8:05 Norwegian time. So in 10 minutes, I'll be back with Karen Webb from Pet Dog Trainers of Europe, and we're going to have a little chat about the organization, what they do, and lots of exciting stuff there as well. So I'll be showing up in a new window in 10 minutes, 8:05. So now it's a coffee or pee break or whatever kind of break you need. See you soon.